2 years ago, 2015, in August, I went to this place where we had like the gathering point for refugees. It was just created by like people working in this area, people that were working in a bar. So in the evening, that place was like a nightclub, and during the day, it was a place where people came to get milk, food, shelter, water, and like basic stuff. And we went to borders. We were actually in Horgosh, which is border between Serbia and Hungary, when it was when there was this crazy event of people being tear gassed and like choppers were flying around with gunmen. A lot of people from Middle East wanted to go from Serbia to Hungary, then to the Western Europe. We were there by accident. Like we had a convoy of trucks and vehicles going to this border because we heard that it's a big mess there and that people are starving. And the first thing we saw when we got there is a boy like 17, 18 years old from Syria, tear gassed, like with his face completely red. And after that, like there were few incidents. Once Hungarian police opened the border, they let people in and they just started beating them and tear gassing them. And then they closed the border and separated, like that was a big fence, so they closed the fence and they separated mothers and children and like families. You know, when you see like other volunteers working, you're just like, yeah, everything is good. No matter like the fucked up things that you see, when you see like the rest of the group is fine, then you're fine. But then at some point I saw Ali crying. He's like a 40-something old Swedish politician, very adult human being. And then when I saw him crying, then like I started crying, and then it was like a chain of people just like, it was quite upsetting. I was a refugee myself when I was a child. So I think like, even though I want to separate myself from those like selfish motives, I think that has a lot to do with it, because we had to leave our home when I was 9 years old, and I remember how we were treated. It's very hard to when you come to the new country to just like adjust to those places and to keep on having your own life. Your own life is ended, and that's a problem that a lot of people that are moving from one place to another don't realize. My mother never realized that. She still thinks that she's going to have her life back at some point. It's been like 20 years, like, woman, that's not gonna happen. I remember the saddest moment, I think, was when there was one older man from Syria, and it's quite interesting when you see those people. They're like in this horrible state. They haven't had proper food or bath for weeks, and then you see that they still want to look like gentlemen, like to take care of themselves, like to shave and stuff. And this guy told me that he spoke very good English, and he told me that back in Syria he was a judge, and he's going to Germany, and he hopes to keep on doing something related to law in there. And he asked me, like, do I think that's gonna happen? Like, and I knew that the best thing as a refugee in Germany that you can get in that age, he's like 60 something, is like cleaning some streets or something like that. And like I had to lie not to break his heart, like before he even came to his destination. But that was very, very sad. And whenever you hear stories like there were kids alone that tell you with a very calm voice, yeah, like, my parents were killed and my brother drowned and I'm alone. And they're like 7 years old. We had a lot of we had some blankets, but we never had a lot of blankets because blankets are generally very expensive compared to, like, I don't know, cans of food or something. So blankets were for women and children. And then there was this, I don't know, 20 years old man, boy, whatever. And he wanted to have a blanket, and we told him, like, I'm sorry, but this is like for babies and women. And he said, well, can't men be cold? And that just broke my heart. Before, we had a lot of money to spend when we were volunteering in Belgrade park close to the bus station. We used to make big pots with what we call nowadays refugee soup. So it was like a lot of veggies with tomato juice, and spices. Sometimes some pasta maybe inside. And we used to take those big pots, like it was like this big, to the park and just distribute it to people. And it was during winter, so it was like a warm homemade meal for people. It was quite good. We were making like 2 or 3 a day. It's a unique experience, and I think that like if more people from the West came here to volunteer or went to Greece or Turkey or someplace like that, I don't think we would have such a big problem nowadays with racism. When you see like a human being that at any point you can be that human being. Like nothing is so safe and secure. Your position is not so safe and secure. Like they had good lives. Syria was very good before the war. If you don't feel for just another human being, just like think of yourself as a person that can be in this position at any moment, which Europeans also were. And I think if like more people experience this crisis the way I did, that we wouldn't have this problem. I'm just waiting for empathy to wake in Europeans, and I'm very surprised that like we had a big war 70 years ago. It's not such a long time ago, but we forgot about that completely. I always thought of myself as a writer, even though I never wrote anything. But I'm sure that at some point I'm gonna publish a novel, and I would like that to be somehow related to social problems that we have in Europe, but in the rest of the world also. I think my focus is generally on education. I would like to change education. That's going to be my final thesis also at my philosophy studies. Because I think that's where the problem is. That's where you can make people realize what's true, what's not true, and what they should ask questions about. And they should ask questions about everything.